Testing. You're Superman? Okay. Luke, I am your father.
All right, thanks for coming, everyone. We'll just kick things off in just Tech Week event. So, hello, Chicago Tech Week. Woo! Yeah, thanks for coming.
I'm going to do these guys a quick favor and distract you while they're doing the, of course, technical difficulty stuff. My name is David DeWayne, and this bill. Oh, hey, Suk, what's happening, man? Hey, thanks. Okay. I'm going to break into song. Okay, my name is David DeWayne, and I'm the executive. And I acquired this building, bought it, except for the two Capital One floors down there. Except for the two Capital One floors down there, we got the old building, the thing that you're actually focused on. So to like flats, like community of really high quality people, we're kind of treating our application process a little bit more like graduate school.
The event, the pitch event, I see so much energy. And here, of course, tonight we're going to talk. So very happy to be here, and that you are here too. And again, AI Collective, we're doing events on average like once every month. So our next event will be a workshop on agent, building agent app using this company called Base44. They are agent SDK. So please follow us and make sure you subscribe. Follow us and make sure you subscribe to us, and we'll have more events. I know him from IBM days, so all my friends, and of course we'll have more events. I know him from IBM days, so all my friends, and of course Che to help us with the AV. So I'll be
Nathan there somewhere hiding in the back, yeah.
help us with the AV. So I'll be
Nathan there somewhere hiding in the back, yeah. Jonathan, okay, so he's hiding in the back, so. Okay, I'm for 24 plus years, and okay, so he's hiding in the back. So, okay, I'm for 24 plus years, and I left last year and created ResearchNet.ai. So check us out. And
From finding a partner in a different country, in a different vertical, to onboarding them all grassroots. Partner in a different country, in a different vertical, to onboarding them all grassroots. We had a pitch competition here yesterday, and we are.
Thank you so much.
We had a pitch competition here yesterday. And we are.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Hello, Chicago Tech Week. Hey, everyone. There's co-host here as well. Everyone. Hello, Chicago Tech Week. Hey, everyone. There's co-host here as well. A lot of synergy in this room. We're working with Ron for some of our chunk of our GTM is based on partnerships. So synergy in this room. We're working with Ron for some of our chunk of our GTM is based on partnerships. So we're on for some of our chunk of our GTM is based on partnerships. So we're very thankful, very thankful to Ulysses. Also Mary, bring this beautiful community together. To Ulysses, also Mary, bring this beautiful community together. Moment right now where the new evolution in technology is actually shifting how the security. The new evolution in technology is actually shifting how the security architecture is going to look. Actually, we've been doing a lot of research on these offensive capabilities. How malicious threat, which is now it has more capability than before. Before, it could just give you quick answers. You could ask a question. So you're able to connect answers. You could ask a question. So you're able to connect your entire infrastructure, your machines, users, devices, and now even your AI. Okay, perfect. Compliance audits. Also, if you're selling to bigger organizations, if you want to pass these on the input and output of your MCP servers, and we deploy all of these advanced AI attacks that are now possible, which I'll demo in just a little bit, involving cat and mouse game. Also on the observability and telemetry side, so you want to have this full observability based on different departments, which applications they could access, which databases they could touch. One example is things like that. So you have full control, making sure that every tool call. Finish up with this portion of the presentation where we have our key value proposition is ISO. So integration systems that the government's adopting, we're seeing a lot of push from that. So this is the pressures coming to make sure that now all the enterprise organizations will also start taking some action on enterprise security. And how we are now with AI, we want to make sure that quantum security is part of your AI infrastructure and your core architecture with Gopher security. For the fun part, so what we'll actually demo is how an agentic attack could occur and offensive research. So this is a quick demo of like the Gopher server. You go through our dashboard where you have one unified gateway. It gives you security that passes through the Defender analyzer agents, make sure that everything is running secure. Server itself, when you create servers, within the servers you have multiple toolkits, multiple tools. So whatever applications you're looking to use, whether it's Gmail, Sentinel, IBM, like Ron just mentioned, we have thousands of pre-certified applications. You quickly spin up these servers on demand, and you're ready to connect them to any of your agents. Like let's say if you're using Claude for this example, we could quickly connect to Claude and use these MCP servers to now securely access your applications, and now you're able to control this, have your organization be AI powered, but you're not exposing yourself to any of these threats. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's actually possible from a hacker's perspective. Let's say if your application or you have self-signups for this, so a bad actor sign up on their own, go in, and then they could start executing attacks. Someone might have phished one of your users' credentials. So these are some attacks that are possible. So tool poisoning, to exfiltrate directives in description. So this could be an attack that could be injected into one of your scenario, how both of these attacks could occur. So we have one vulnerability. Attacker successfully executed the payload. Without Gopher, it was blocked. And so we could actually see this. So let's say with this example, so this is your DevOps assistant. And this is actually access. So this is a demo server that we have. So some examples, so list demo infrastructure folder. This is what the AI would respond. So it gives all this information, the status is ready. So then the hacker could actually say, list all the 80 shows, the credentials. It has your AWS key ID, the credentials. It has your AWS key ID here. Those are any challenges to here. Those are any challenges to this. So you could also this. So you could also, let's see one of these other examples. Validate my billing API to the financial vulnerabilities as well. So then let's go ahead and try this again with the security layers on. So now we'll go ahead and try do when they go into the system with the Gopher security, prompt injection blocks, all these filters in place, making sure that none of this malicious activity could happen. So let's say first of all we'll do like list the demo infrastructure folder. So let's say first of all we'll do like list the demo infrastructure folder and its README files. So then we see that now with the blocks and the filters, is blocked. This is security policy that's in place. So the message response is that this security is blocked. You're not supposed to see this information. And then it also makes sure that on the back end, you also get an incident alert. So through the Gopher dashboard, you see that there's some suspicious activity going on that's not supposed to be happening. Then you activity going on that's not supposed to be happening. Then you'll go back and inspect it. So maybe there are some policy rules that are in place, or maybe it was actually a threat actor that's trying to access secure information that they're not supposed to touch. And finally, let's go ahead and try the billing call again. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this. One. So this is actually a high severity. So you'll get a high severity incident alert as well from your side. So yes. So this is what could happen without security in place. So if you're connecting your applications, your databases to MCP servers, any kind of attack like this could occur where either it's a malicious user that self-signed up to your account, or your credentials were phished. So all of these different possibilities. And without these security measures in place, obviously we can't have this responsible AI. These scenarios, we're making sure that we're on top of it, making sure any types of threat scenarios, we have them in the database, and we're hardening your AI infrastructure as well at the same time. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. This is the presentation from Gopher Security side. And now it's my great privilege and honor to invite Mr. Pete Beirut to speak for the FBI's perspective on what the FBI is doing from the intelligence side. Keeping us safe from these types of attacks, keeping us safe from quantum attacks that are looming on the horizon. So thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, I got the mic to use here, so fantastic. Hey, thank you all for having me. Forgive me, days are crazy, so I do have notes, mostly to keep me on track and I don't start rambling on like things I shouldn't ramble on. So I apologize for that. You'll probably get me in Q&A after, and then I'll ramble. Also, I don't want Lotta tackling me in case I go off script for the FBI. So just heads up with that. We'll get set here. We good? Looks right. Oh, you're presenting. Okay. See, no, wait. See, I don't know what I'm doing. How confident do you feel right now that I'm up here for the FBI and I'm pretty like, I don't know. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. No, but seriously, thank you for having me. As Alan mentioned, I'm the Intel Chief here at FBI Chicago, so I have the responsibility over the intelligence posture for the third largest city, which in the domestic landscape is quite vast in the amount of threats that we work. And we'll get a little bit into that too. Another reason is I'll level set myself later with some of this. We're going to talk a lot about adversarial activities, and I'll get in a little bit of that too. But from where I sit at the FBI and what I do, it's also I need notes. Imagine, from violent crime, gangs, fraudsters, healthcare fraud, terrorists, spies. It runs the gamut of what we work on. And again, being one of the larger ones, sometimes I need notes. So you guys aren't like, what are you talking about now, Pete? So, but thank you, Alan. Thank you for security, and thank you all of you. You allowing me to come here as the FBI is one, very welcoming, but two, it allows us to do our job much more efficiently. It allows you to know me, to know that we are here at the behest of you as the American people. We are here to uphold the Constitution and protect those that fall under the Constitution, right? And it makes us a little less spooky. So when we come calling, you can realize, Pete's just a real guy, lives out in the suburbs, got a couple kids, all that stuff too. So it's very important for us. So also, and some of you I know in the audience here, right? I have had the privilege for a few years now to watch this amazing growth and innovation around here. Watching it from an unbiased perch, because I do work for the United States government. I'm rooting for you. I'm a local guy, so it's very important that You know, we watch this in a couple things that are very important to the United States government. One ago, we had a great moment in time that we had 2 executive orders come out, right? We talked about the executive order, but there was 2 executive orders that came out. And we really look at those 2 for us to do what we need to do to advance our capabilities as the United States in that race, you know. And those systems, preparing those entities working with us for that piece. And I'll talk a little bit about some doom and gloom. Sorry, I'll try not to scare you on that. So first off, let me go ahead and level to both protect and to help with that. We got individuals that can do that for the FBI. But what it does allow me and other entities and individuals here in the Chicagoland area, it is to protect. It is protect, help us move forward and win that race at all costs. So one thing I want to lay in before I get into one of my first doom and gloom sides is, right, we do really look at in a really simple sense quantum being the I work for the United States government, and my job is to advance the needs in the global stage of the United States. So I say all of that because I also know that part of my job is to make sure that I am not impacting open sharing, academic research, those relationships. Some of what we do can be hard in that space. So I'm not naive to that. But I do want to say, though, just lay it out there. If you don't agree with it, get me a different job. No, just kidding. That was a joke for whoever's recording this. So get me fired for something else. No, I'm just kidding. So as we look at private investors and governments across the globe heavily investing in different quantum science and AI technologies and capabilities, our adversaries are increasingly targeting that. There are multiple adversaries on the global stage, right? So I know I'm talking about one global stage, but none of that, for the most part, mostly lawful until it's not. And that's where the problems come in. Until it's not lawful because of the intent behind it. I'm going to give you a little secret about the legal system. You can make a lot of mistakes in life. What we have to do is prove intent. You intentionally did something to relationships. That's where what is legal may not then be legal. So that ambiguity is the point, right? So that allows for design, the design to operate below what will typically be a threshold of scrutiny. But make no mistake, those are the thresholds that we're very aware of, that we very much will monitor. So other things you'll see on there too, right? The Chinese Government State Council lays out a 4-step plan. Government State Council lays out a 4-step plan of how they gain technology and what they do once they gain the technology, right? They're going to take that technology and they're going to introduce foreign technology and knowledge back into China. Once they either through one of these means of acquisition that then comes back in. And I'm saying this is essentially many actors will use the same model, except for us. We're the good guys, but whatever. But sorry. So once they have that, they're going to take that next step, and this is what they've published as their 4-step plan, right? Once acquired, they're using numerous of their capabilities, civilian and military entities, and resources to really understand and tear apart that acquired material, so they really have it. Next step they're going to assimilate that. They're taking that foreign technology that they've acquired and they're building it into their infrastructures, right? They're frequently reverse engineering it to do so. And then they're going to re-innovate. That's when you'll see different things that they're going to start building that look very similar to the other things that they've kind of acquired in those technologies. This is a method and a process we see time and time and time again. All this is being said, right? It is a large problem set for us to address. I think we're all smart enough to know in here that what this allows our adversaries to do is achieve generational advancements, save time and money in research and development, and you'll hear this say, like, jump the line kind of thing. So, right now, this same playbook is targeted towards AI, quantum sensing, different fabrications, They used to target this against wind turbines, different titanium dioxide processes. We have plenty of indictments and convictions so we can show this again, time and time again. Recently, in 2026, in the spring, this entire model in the priority of AI and quantum science. So every year, the intelligence community publishes a threat assessment of these are all the threats against us, right? We have climate change things happening. We have geopolitical aspects going on, wars in this location, this location. There's a section in there. If you go into it's here. There's only two technologies they talk about: quantum science and AI. But they also talk very much in there too about China is the primary competitor of ours, especially in the AI race, and that they also have made it very well known that they want to overtake us with dominance by 2030. So that is one thing why we see very aggressive actions by them to take this information. That assessment also looks at AI and quantum as force multipliers, not standalone risks tied directly to critical infrastructure defense. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we get into some of the aspects with concerns with the quantum science in that race. So I would also say that I'd be remiss, because of what I said my job is too, if I didn't say, like, I'm talking a lot about state actors and those threats, if I didn't talk a little bit too about the extensive growth in the eyes of the world on what you have going on here, how much other entities, the extremists, fraudsters, violent criminal activities, just other threats as you grow. And I'll have things we can help you with some of this. Again, I always feel bad. It's always very doom and gloom. So, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you, it's beyond state actors, right? This is a threat writ large that we face. So. Okay. Now, a little less doom and gloom. We'll try to bring it down a little bit. I think we all know there's so many upsides to all the technologies. This, especially as I'm still talking a little bit about the quantum space right now with the executive orders. So, right, we recognize as the FBI that the ability to shorten the drug discovery timelines in medicine are phenomenal. The high fidelity in the medical, amount of energy, the amount of time you get back, right? The minimization of accidents, things that we don't think about. So I always make sure, as I'm out talking to individuals, recognizing that this is about them getting all this other aspects too, right? So these efforts, advancements are occurring. This is Executive Order 14413. For any of you that were tracking, probably one of the worst kept secrets in the government. This thing was in draft for like a year. So 14413 came out, and it really drove a whole of government approach. This is where the United States government and this administration has identified the FBI as that lead protection apparatus the rest of the government will be coordinating through in that security and defense. We have what's called the Quantum Counterintelligence Protection Team that sits back in DC. Underneath the umbrella, we have a national counter, and through that and through them, we do a lot in this space, in this protection. Right? A lot of what we do there is we coordinate on threat messaging to academics and industry, deconfliction outreach across agencies. We also make sure, and this is the one thing I think you should all recognize, because if you don't know where to get it, and at the end here, I'll give anybody my card that wants my card. We want to make sure that we get you the information you need in this space, because the other thing we're charged with, and we've been very active here in this region for a long time, is information sharing, right? Making sure that you have those threat intelligence information. How do I understand if the adversary is coming against trying to procure what I'm doing or approaching me? We also have different trainings that we put on. We'll put on elicitation trainings. We'll come out to your companies and meet with anybody to teach you, how do you know if somebody's trying to get something out of you for a purpose? How can you better and tools. I always say these are prepaid. Your tax dollars already paid for them. We can provide these to you. We work closely with CISA on those things. What it was very clear on is making sure that we're doing a lot more of that. And I will say that too. We got some great partners in here with you right now that we've been working with for years. A lot of what was built there is built on the relationship we've been able to maintain with all of you here in Chicago, the Chicagoland area. I think if you check, you look at that executive order, it talks a lot about workforce strategy. It's also, yes, we can protect it, we can do all these other things with it, but if we don't look to have the right capital and people and the right training, so it does charge like OPM, Department of Labor, NSF to make sure that they're looking at different ways to invest in that, to get that workforce capital, Supply chain interaction. Trying to map out to understand those criticalities and those points in this, right? Great. I mean, at the end of the day, it's beyond that, right? I think we have to preparing themselves for all those other aspects. So that's one of the things too. So that's something too that we look really closely at too when it comes to the quantum science and the advanced. People understand that that it's not a quantum order, right? It's a cryptographic migration. Or any agency down the road, you need to be at a point too where your businesses can also drive why you need PQC crime. Full stop. You in this room know that better than I do. So AI has enabled phishing. Holy boy. The amount of phishing that we get right drive an emotional response. The amount of phishing that we get right drive an emotional response through those. We also see it in market manipulation. Of looking at those, the old school ways of looking at those, the old school ways of looking at the distortions, the visual, the distortions, the visual, and even then get fake images that they can put out there before they'd have to targeting critical infrastructure as they look at different accelerated attack planning against different energy, financial, just a warning label, which is exactly what I've been doing to you for the last of our open groups like InfraGuard. You can get a member. We want to make sure that we are giving you the tools that you need. But recent leadership has really leaned heavily into it. They have leaned heavily into the court of law sometimes. To do that, I have to take whatever the AI tool spits out, resources to fit your needs. AI tool spits out resources to fit your needs. So if you've got needs, this is really important too. It sounds really basic. This is really important too. It sounds really basic. Like I talk to a lot of chief security officers. I talk to a lot of house that's doing something. I talk to a lot of chief security officers. I talk to a lot of house that's doing something against your company and you. We will provide you training, resources, and ways to identify and notify. Like we do a lot of broker and introduction. We talk a lot about and work a lot in physical security. We don't do physical security. We have a lot of partners that don't know where to start thinking about security and the threat. Right, 1986, this quote had a little different intent when it was said. Let's see, I think you were first, so I'll go ahead.
My head that I want to ask you about whether they're synonymous or whether there is a difference. Governance. One extreme is those three words are all the same to you. Among governance, trustworthiness, not trust, trustworthiness, and discipline.
Great question. And I'm going to give you my opinion, right? I don't know if there's a right answer, but I'm going to give you my opinion. I think they're different, right? I think you can group them together. Yes, if I use a thesaurus, they may give me those as options. Governance. Yeah. So I would definitely say where governance, trustworthiness, and discipline. So I would definitely say our scope is much more in the trustworthiness and discipline side of things. In that sense, like governance, I am not a regulatory agency. I am not an entity with oversight in making sure that you are maintaining your data and information under NIST, protecting it with NIST standards. That's not my job, right? My organization operates under 18 criminal codes and violations there. We have other intelligence community authorities given to us under 12333 that I can do because we are the domestic intelligence agency. So there's things there that we work in. But because of those other things, for me to stand here and for you not to trust me, now you don't know me, you don't trust me, right? But I need you to at least give me a chance to know that, hey, I am trying to do the right thing for what I've been charged to do it for and provide that trustworthiness as an organization. And then the last one, so it was governance, trustworthiness, and discipline. Yeah. So you know, I'm like I said, former military, and then working for the FBI. Much of my life has been revolved around discipline. I'm a firm believer in that sense that I do think probably trustworthiness and discipline are probably the closest in the synonyms there for me, but they're different, right? And I say that because I do feel that I'm really messing you up in that camera, aren't I? I float too much. I'm like, what are you doing here? Right? Because if I am going to make sure that I am doing things the right way, and I'm having the discipline to do it the right way, and to make sure that I am not, stepping outside those bounds, right? So it is definitely one of those things that I have to, we have a saying that, I need to do the right thing when no one's watching every single time. So yeah, I definitely think when it comes to AI, and it comes to, I'll stop. I feel so bad here. I walk when I'm thinking. So when it comes to the different aspects of AI and quantum science and all of that too, right? I'm probably not the best expert to answer on that, but as I think about the different aspects of, I'm thinking of like data governance, and I'm thinking about different things with that. But yeah, I probably danced around your question a little bit, but I don't think they're synonymous. I really don't. But so I think I had one over here first, and I'll come back to you, sir. I was standing there. Oh, sorry.
This one's just not good. Good to see you too. How are you?
All right. Yeah, sir, this will be an easy one. I'm a big fan of you guys. I'm also a huge fan of Director Kash Patel and President Trump, but we don't talk about Mr. Trump in Chicago very much, as you might expect. And also, I trained one of your agents, Miss Thompson. If she's still with us, I think her name's Melanie Thompson. Yeah. Yeah, I in 2015 at IIT when she was a graduate student. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And so here's my quick question. I've been a cybersecurity professional. I started concerned about the degradation. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm a little concerned, as a lot are that are paying attention, about the degradation of the organization. Can you speak to that? Because I'm sure you guys have dialogue if there's anybody that left there.
Thank you, Bill.
No, yeah, great question. One, work closely together, right? They're in our space all the time, we're in their space all the time. That partnership is so locked tight. Two, I said left of theft, very similar to boom. CISA exists in that realm to provide those, right? I stole that quote. This is prepaid with your tax dollars. I stole that from CISA. I mean, full stop there too. They have great resources, and we will, every time you need something, we're going to bring CISA into that room because they have a lot of great resources in the critical infrastructure space that they can provide to you and help you get the hardened mindset and all that too, both in cyber, but also in just physical and other aspects there too. So yeah, definitely. And then to answer that question, yes, there was restructuring things going on. I'm happy to say that they have, especially in the Chicagoland area, I think it's Region 5 is our region here for CISA. They just hired a new director of Region 5. I was just at a meeting in Indianapolis a couple days ago, with some of their leadership down there. They have some new analysts in the Chicagoland area, so definitely if anybody's interested and they want to know those resources, I am happy to bring CISA to the table. We're doing stuff right now with CISA on looking at different threat assessments of some of these technology centers, working with them, working with other aspects like Coast Guard, CPD, us, DOW, all of us to really find a way to build out really robust threat assessments on these facilities. We need CISA at the table for that. And the beauty of CISA, going back to us being part of the intelligence community, a lot of what we do could be at the secret or top secret level. Pretty much everything that CISA does is unclassified. So they have so many great unclassified resources and tools to provide. So, but yes, hopefully that makes you feel better that they're restructured, but they're hiring back up. So, thanks. Sir. Yeah, no, great question. Right, and I'm gonna, how do I say this without sounding, my mother is in her 80s, so I have these conversations all the time with my mom about, Mom, if it's too good to be true, don't click on it. Mom, don't do that. No, don't, right? But it's those kind of things, right? It's one, you know, use those antivirus, those softwares that you need in that space and all the time, right? So as an average day citizen, I'm not talking about as a CISO, I'm not talking about as a corporation, but utilize those aspects, right? I use VPNs on every device I have. I'm using VPNs, right? Both for, you know, for the sanctity of my work, but also for just my personal life, right? I use those encrypted end-to-end encryption devices. I would definitely say, but it's really, I don't know how to say it without just saying, if it is too good to be true, it's too good to be true. You know, I'm a, you know, trounced across the globe, 9/11, fighting terrorists, terrorism, that was it, right? I spent time in our counterterrorism division, lot of that. I was like, oh, biggest threat to the United States, terrorists. One of the best jobs I ever got in Chicago put me over the financial fraud intelligence team when I was a young supervisor. What I learned there was the impact that fraud and deception has on the American people is massive. And it is one of the saddest things you see when you'll see like an 80-year-old individual lose their entire life savings because they thought that one click was going to give them something. Or, like we talked about, the voice cloning, or business email compromises, all of that. So I would definitely say that I take a little bit of caution in giving you too much advice. I don't want to you say, well, the FBI said, and I assume that liability. But definitely, like I would definitely make sure that you're using those resources, but just have a hardened mindset that if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Yeah, thank you. So I saw another hand, I thought. Oh, man. Hi.
First of all, thank you for the overview. I had my own penetration testing company with the fanciful name of Blazing Tiger, and our goal is to make penetration testing affordable for SMBs using a combination of automation and human-in-the-loop techniques. So we try to map our findings across a number of different frameworks, of course, OWASP, CWEs, but we also use the CISA, Known Exploitable Vulnerabilities Catalog, to just pinpoint them so that not only can the work be prioritized, but CISOs have like a cohesive story to the CIO and others so that they can get what they need. So my I be thinking about in terms of enriching those findings?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the things I would highly recommend from the FBI side, are you getting our pins and flashes? Where'd you go? No? So I would say, I'll give you my card, and then what I would do is highly recommend, and for all of you, so the FBI has a program that we champion. It's a private program, but we champion and we house a lot of the data sets that kind of, or the accesses and the gateways into it. It's called InfraGard. Has anybody heard of InfraGard? Yeah. So the best part about InfraGard is it allows you now into a portal where all this information is funneled that has it's a little bit higher than unclassified. It gives us into a place where you become a trusted partner, right? And you can now, if you hit one of the 16 critical infrastructures, which everybody in this room actually hits one of those 16 critical infrastructures, I promise you that. I mean, between critical manufacturing, energy, technology, you're going to hit it. Don't worry about that. You have to be a U.S. person, legal permanent resident, U.S. person, and then you have to have, I think, no criminal records to get into this. So it's basically a background check they're going to do on you. Once you get that, we push a lot of our reports into there. So pins and flashes are essentially where the FBI takes, let's say there's an APT or a cyber actor overseas that's doing something, and we get that through different collection means. We are going to try to find ways as fast as possible to declassify, get some of those techniques and those things that you need to layer into your systems out to you as fast as possible. Because it does no good for me to sit on those and just keep collecting it with NSA and all our partners and be like, oh yeah, this is really bad. No, I need to get to the people that are actually protecting these systems. So I would definitely say, I'll give you my card after this and we can get you latched up with our private sector coordinator and and anybody else. It's a great resource, a great information flow. I hope that helps.
That's super helpful.
Good. Questions? Yep. Come on. I got a job here, Alan. I got my job.
So a couple of days ago, they rescinded on the CMMC level 2 certification. What is the implication, and how do small and medium manufacturers do what they do? So,
I'm not going to lie to you. I heard about that. Another panel I was on. I don't know. Like again, I'm going to go back to my background. There may be some better either cyber experts in the room or CISOs in the room with the CMMC and talking about those implications. I do feel like, because I definitely had a lot of people talking, like there was a lot of anxiety in the last room I was in with a lot of that going on. So no, I apologize. I really don't. I don't have anything from my perspective on that one. Sorry. Okay, now the camera's back on me. All right. Anything else? Oh. One more question? One more question. Oh.
In a post-Q Day world, is there any like agency or set of agencies that like have the economic impact of all of this encrypted data being somewhat available to threat actors, either for like leverage against like high-value individuals, and I think on a broader scale, the loss of trust at a consumer level of like all this marketing data that can now be mined using AI. Yeah.
So I guess, so I understand the question. Do we have a capability in one of our agencies to either mitigate, kind of box in? Yeah, so long way of putting that is, right, we play 3D chess on a daily basis, right? So some of that has to do with the fact that, right, I'm talking about the adversaries. We are somebody's adversary. So at the end of the day, we are setting ourselves up for, I just had this conversation with one of your colleagues too about the idea between Q-Day and mutually assured destruction of a nuclear war. So we have to have a counterstrike. We have to have a capability of keys to someone else's kingdom. So you do something to us, we do something to you, kind of a mentality, right? So like that is definitely the way that we operate in the intelligence community. And at the same time, right behind the scenes, we're trying to find those ways back. But make no mistake about it, the vastness of the dark web, the vastness of the global stage makes that much harder. So we're all going to feel that we have. Now, one thing I will say, we talked about this, and I think the executive orders are kind of a first step in that space, is one thing I'm proud of in my multiple decades of doing this kind of work is the United States government can do some amazing things when there's a national security crisis. We can do some amazing things. We are starting to treat some of this as a concern of a national security crisis. Like we are starting to make sure that if we don't do X, Y will happen. And try to get ahead of that. So hopefully I didn't avoid your question too much, but all right, thanks. All right, thank you. Oh, sure.
FBI, is actually a political entity than a technology entity. So when you, especially in cutting edge field, so you just, this gentleman just mentioned you send your agent to be trained by him. So now, what you are talking about quantum things, quantum computer. So I think the FBI is definitely not the cutting edge on this field. So you probably send our agent to study, or maybe government will set aside a lot of money. Recently I know the U.S. government set up $2 billion to quantum study through the Department of Commerce, and FBI, not FBI, IBM got 1 billion. All total is 2 billion. IBM got 1 billion. IBM. Yeah. So another company may got a little bit more, my second, and the rest just get a little share like sci-fi content. So I just wonder, will FBI get any share from this funding? No.
No. That's a flat no. No, but to your point, though, and I'll leave you with this, is that we are not historically the quantum physicists, the experts in that space. The intelligence community in the United States government has those experts, right? And we partner with different experts in that space. We partner with different national labs. We partner with universities and academic institutions. I would be a disservice to you if I worried too much about the FBI being an expert in quantum science. Now, have I made a fool of myself a few times trying to explain, entanglement and superposition? Yes. But we use a whole government approach, and that goes back to that quantum protection team. Like, maybe Department of War, NSA, or that company, they have those experts, and what we want to do is we want to leverage those. So hopefully that helped. All right, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Amazing presentation. Thank you, Pete. Big round of applause for Pete. Thank you for all the great questions, too. Amazing questions. I'm honored now to bring on Mr. Joe Young from IonQ. IonQ, it's synonymous with quantum computing. So thank you so much for joining us. I'll go ahead and pull up your presentation. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Alan. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I don't know how I drew the short straw to present after Pete. That's a tough act to follow. So great job. No, I have no notes, but great job, and it's great to see that the FBI is really focused on these important things to help the American citizens and the country, because they are really important. So thank you. So I'll just introduce myself really quickly. So Joe Young, I've only been at IonQ now for about 5 or 6 months. Time's flying, but prior to IonQ, I worked for 10 years at EMC Dell. So I sold information storage infrastructure, compute infrastructure, and then my last 6 years prior to starting at IonQ, I was at a company called Zscaler. So we did cloud-based zero trust security. So before I get into the content, Pete covered, I think, the high-level threats and risks that AI and quantum, pose to all of us and to the country. I'm going to talk a little bit more about who is IonQ and how can organizations tactically go protect themselves against the quantum risk. So we'll get into a little bit more of like, what are some steps that organizations can take to... Who in here is a business owner? We have a lot of business owners here, okay. How about any like IT professional? Okay, good mix. So that's a great mix. Okay, perfect, that helps, because some of the stuff that I'm talking about is kind of tactical around security and network infrastructure and how companies can start to mitigate the quantum risk. Last question, show of hands, familiarity with IonQ as a company. Anybody familiar with IonQ? Okay, few. Let's see, make sure I do this right. Okay, so quick high level on IonQ. IonQ is the world leader in quantum computing, but we're also more security, quantum networking, quantum sensing, and also a lot of space strategy of We don't just want to be a compute provider. Revenue, we're projecting $270 million in revenue for this calendar year. So we use a tagline that says quantum. Right now we have the largest market of our enterprise value and what our stock price is. So that is IonQ at a high level. Our computers have us actually cracking RSA encryption and other bit, but IonQ is most likely going to create the first quantum computer that will break all of these legacy forms of encryption. So we as a company also look at it as it's our duty to provide the solution to secure against the quantum threat, because we are most likely going to be the company that provides the computers that ultimately leads to that threat. So we kind of view it as our patriotic duty to make sure that we help customers protect against the risk that comes along with quantum. I'll open it up for questions at the end, but if anybody has any questions in the meantime, don't hesitate to interrupt and ask. So that's IonQ at a high level. So I think the two biggest differentiators is, one, we use a trapped ion approach to our architecture, and we have an electronic qubit scaling mechanism that's going to allow us to scale very cost effectively as a quantum computer. So I feel like we have the best roadmap and the best, the best way to do quantum computing that is going to be the most cost effective at scale. But we're also the only full stack provider. So those are really the two major differences that I think give IonQ our differentiation in the market. But then when it comes to the platform, let me just hit on security. So as a security provider for quantum, we also have a full stack quantum security portfolio that doesn't just focus on PQC, but it focuses on other technologies like QKD, which I'll talk about in a little bit, quantum security posture management, which is a software tool, and I'll get into that in a little while. And then we also have a quantum random number generator chip that goes into most of our hardware solutions that is also differentiated in the market. So we don't just have a single security solution that we offer to customers. We have a full stack of security solutions based on different use cases that customers might have. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our quantum security portfolio shortly. But let me just move on, before I get back to this, into, this is just a quick slide that shows some of the global quantum networks that we've deployed globally. So we've been in the quantum security business for over 20 years now with an acquisition that we made of a Geneva-based company called ID Quantique. So globally, we've actually deployed a lot of quantum secure networks, and this is just a visual that shows that. So we've been doing it for a long time. We have a lot of expertise in this. So it's not really a new technology. It's a technology we've been building and innovating and developing for over 20 years. The other thing that's interesting, you see some satellites here. As I mentioned, IonQ has a big space portfolio, and we own a satellite company called Capella, and we own an optical communications company called Skyloom. What we are also trying to do is extend quantum security into space. So not just focusing on securing what's on land, but also taking that into space for space-based communications and securing those communications. So who's heard of Q-Day? I mean, Pete just talked about it. Okay, so a lot of people have heard of it. What really is Q-Day? Q-Day is the day that a cryptographically relevant quantum computer will crack legacy forms of data encryption. That's what Q-Day is. Over time, I'm struggling with these slides here. Over time, the timeline of when Q-Day is going to be a reality has shrunk drastically. So if you go back to 2012, the industry experts thought that you needed a quantum computer with that did 1 billion qubits in order to crack RSA encryption. That now in 2026 is sub 100,000 qubits. And that's why our roadmap and some of our competitors' roadmaps put our computers on track to crack RSA encryption by 2030. So our CEO has been very vocal. Q-Day is about 3 years away. And then Microsoft and Google have both said that the risk is far too great to their business to wait any longer to implement post-quantum technologies any later than 2030. So I think, I get into conversations with some customers and they say, well, Q-Day's 5 years out, Q-Day's 10 years out. The US government, just obviously with the executive orders that Pete just mentioned, moved up the timeline to 2030. So you think about it, you have some of the largest organizations in the world, Google, Microsoft, mandated that their agencies and a lot of their suppliers are security technologies by 2030. So the regulations baseline of, okay, now people are going to be motivated to move by 2030, but adversaries are actually taking advantage of some of this now. We talked about harvest now, decrypt later. Adversaries are stealing data today, storing it in a very cost-effective manner, and when Q-Day comes along, they can ultimately decrypt that data and have access to it. So someone asked a question, and Pete hit on it, but a lot of customers say, well, you know, information that is taken from me today, 3 years from now isn't relevant, right? So there's a lot of data that is, you know, doesn't have a shelf life and it's not useful. But there's two things that I think are important to know. One, a lot of organizations do have data that has a long shelf life. National secrets, you know, patents, IP, critical IP that some of these companies don't want to lose, they have a long shelf life. But what's happening and what we're seeing more of is that these adversaries are stealing data, and we call it data in aggregate. So yeah, 3 years down the road, data taken today is not relevant. But if an adversary is stealing or harvesting data every week, every month, every year for a 3-year period, they can start putting together a lot of sensitive information or knowing a lot about that information over the trends about certain individuals, certain people, et cetera. So data in aggregate is a real thing, and this is happening now. And by the way, I don't know what's up with the slides here, but there's some, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's being decrypted. So the visuals kind of do it all. But so harvest now, decrypt later is a real thing. So Q-Day is coming soon. Harvest now, decrypt later attacks are happening now. I'm going to talk a little bit about what IonQ believes is the right way to approach this problem. So I mentioned quantum security posture management. Anybody familiar with posture management solutions out in the market? You think of things like you know, Sierra, Big ID, Wiz. A lot of those or your cloud infrastructure, right? We view posture management from a cryptography perspective as the place that everybody should start. Most organizations, the interesting thing about encryption is that it's been embedded everywhere for so long, across your network, across your infrastructure and cloud environments, that it's really been an afterthought. So there's encryption everywhere, but not a lot of people know where it is, what's at risk, how it's being used, because they never had to think about it. So one of the first things that the executive order says is cryptography, where does it sit today, and where do they have risk in their organization? So we are right now building quantum security posture management that is going to help customers do discovery, compliance checks, and continuous monitoring as the environment changes of where do I have risk and remediate the problem. IonQ, we've sold remediation solutions for quite a while, and I'm going to talk about what those remediation solutions are. But we believe the best place to start is around understanding what your inventory looks like and putting risk scores against that and doing that continuous monitoring and inventorying. So that's where to start. Once you initiated in this position of we're the only provider that helps customers both with post-quantum cryptography key distribution. So we call that having a defense in-depth strategy. So post-quantum that do the same things that elliptic curve encryption or RSA encryption do, but they're based on more complicated mathematics. So still based on mathematics, but it's more complicated so that when quantum computers are more mainstream, that math is still going to take that quantum computer too long for them to crack. However, our opinion, and again, this is IonQ's stance, that is going to work in the near term. And we're going to talk about crypto agility in a little bit. But in the near term, PQC will help prevent against quantum computers you know, breaking that encryption. But if you fast forward 10 years, how much stronger are quantum computers going to get? How much better are the algorithms out there that are going to be to go crack things like PQC? So we also believe having a encryption key distribution strategy that's based on quantum physics is really important, because math will always be vulnerable. We call that like quantum resistant algorithms. PQC are quantum resistant. QKD, we believe, is truly quantum safe because it's based on the laws of physics. So even a quantum computer can't break that because it's based on science and not mathematics. So those are the two different technologies that we deploy. We also integrate with all the other major network providers out there. So companies that have deployed Palo Alto, Cisco, Fortinet, and some of the other major vendors across their network, we will integrate with those providers and help with the key exchange using quantum safe keys. So we do both PQC and QKD in our offering. Let me go next. Oops. Let me go back one. Okay. So our answer to immediately providing security against harvest now, decrypt later, and helping customers with quantum safe key distribution and key management is to decouple the control plane for your key exchange and your key distribution to a separate layer outside of your network. We want to decouple those two things. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's important later. The main reason why we think it's important is crypto agility, right? This is an interesting statistic. So NIST has two PQC algorithms that they are recommending that customers move to, right, for post-quantum. Those PQC algorithms are public. They're already announced by NIST. And the question is why they're already out, why hasn't everybody moved to those two algorithms that have been published by NIST already? Quantum safety with the PQC algorithms isn't a technology problem. It's a transition management problem. How do I get PQC have all this other legacy encryption out there? How do I do it safely and securely and in a way that isn't going to cripple my network? And what's also interesting is of those two started with 84 algorithms originally that NIST that said were quantum resistant. As they did more simulation, 82 of those 84 algorithms didn't hold up. They actually proved that they were going to be vulnerable to a quantum attack. So those two algorithms that NIST recommended has been whittled down from 84. And that's another reason why we think that PQC, while it is quantum resistant, in the long run might run into some issues with quantum security. So what does that mean? NIST is going to continue to make better PQC algorithms that are going to be more quantum resistant over time and make them more complex. Institution, a large critical infrastructure provider, and you spent a year and a lot of money upgrading your network to be PQC capable, right, and moving to those PQC algorithms. And 6 months later, NIST recommends two new algorithms that are better than the previous two that you just spent 6 months a year implementing, right? That is a scary thing for IT professionals because it's going to cost a lot of money and take a lot of time to do something that could be obsolete in the very near future. So we believe that decoupling the key exchange from the network allows you to be crypto agile and adopt these new PQC algorithms as they come out. And we believe that that will happen in a lot more in the future. Right now, the two algorithms are set, but who knows what's going to happen 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road when it comes to those algorithms and how much NIST updates them or comes out with new ones. So you want to create that agility of moving to those algorithms is seamless and simple, and it doesn't require a full network overhaul. So this is just a visual of what we sell, and when I talk about that out-of-band key exchange and how it would work within an existing network. So we have a software called Clarion KX. That is kind of our control plane, our software control plane that manages all the policy, and it gives you complete visibility into your encryption key environment. And then we have two hardware appliances that we sell today. One is called Solteris. That's for PQC algorithms. So that is a PQC key management. Again, the same architecture, out-of-band key exchange appliances. One is based on mathematics, one is based on physics. And we actually let a lot of customers that we have deploy both. A lot of them have standardized on one or the other because they maybe believe QKD is best and they want to go down that path. But we believe that there's an option for both in each network, and I can kind of explain some of the reason why later. But basically, this out-of-band key exchange feeds quantum-safe keys into your encryptors, and it helps you implement these technologies into your existing network without doing a complete overhaul. So we believe that this is the quickest way to become quantum resistant and protect against the harvest now, decrypt later threat. and put you on your journey to becoming quantum safe. So quick visual, this is the Clarion KX software. It gives you centralized control. It allows you to take advantage of PQC and QKD. It supports both. And it's a scalable resistance key fabric software that you manage from a single dashboard. If I move to Solteris, this is the PQC key management appliance. It uses entropy based on quantum random number generation, which gives you great randomness and entropy to make sure it's the most secure way to do PQC, key management, and key distribution. And then finally, Clavis is our QKD appliances. Now, the limitations of QKD is that you need a fiber optic network in order to send these photons and these quantum safe keys. So the reason why having both PQC and QKD together is important is a lot of companies don't have fiber connectivity connecting all of their networks and all of their data centers across the US, especially companies that are using a lot of cloud-based services, et cetera. So QKD, we look at is it's securing your most critical data center links that are connected via fiber optic network. And PQC helps you extend that network to your IP-based networks and to your cloud environments. So that is really those two working in tandem together. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that have no fiber, so QKD wouldn't be a fit for them. But for large organizations that have fiber optic networks and connecting some of their key data centers, this is a really great solution that's based on the laws of physics that is truly quantum safe when it comes to key distribution and key exchange. Okay, so last but not least, and again, I don't know why the slides didn't translate over correctly, but really three-step process, in our opinion, to become quantum safe. First is make sure you understand your environment. Use the discovery tools that either we can provide to you or other third parties can provide to you so you know what your environment looks like today. Where is my cryptography? Where is my risk? What does the inventory look like? And how do I start focusing on my most critical workloads, applications, or network segments to become quantum safe? Move to PQC as a great first step, right? We have NIST certified PQC key management solutions in QRNG. And then ultimately, as you look at your entire network as a whole, go and scale it out across your whole network. As I mentioned, I believe that IonQ is really the only full stack quantum provider, but from a security perspective, we want to help you with the discovery. We want to help you to move to PQC in the near term, and we also want to provide you with that QKD option for your most critical infrastructure. So that's really our strategy. That's what we offer today. I know I'm the last presentation, I think, between everybody, but any questions, comments? Yes.
Your technology is beautiful and elegant, and I really think it's a great addition to the array of crypto agility solutions out there. I'm studying this for about 3 years. Does anybody in this room have any idea how many devices are going to have to be reconfigured? How many devices that are connected to the internet that are going to have to be reconfigured? I know the numbers. You know the number. Yeah.
I have a dollar amount, I think, in my mind. It's about $1 trillion.
That's low.
It could be low.
Yeah. Well, the number is, I've added everything up and tell you how many devices and everything. IoT really complicates it, by the way. Yeah, so the number is 61.7 billion. Now, there's about 8.5 billion human beings on the planet. Now, here's another fun figure. What was the GDP of the United States last year? Does anybody know? GDP. It's about 32 trillion, right? They just came out last week. This has really been bothering me, by the way. There's a young lady down that says that she's a quantum expert down in Oklahoma, and about 12 months ago, she announced that it would cost $8 billion to transition all these devices in PQC. Just the financial sector weighed in 4 days ago and said it's going to be a $3 trillion impact. That's just finance industry. That's not the medical industry, that's not manufacturing, that's just the financial industry. So we're looking at numbers that are substantial percentages of things like the US GDP. I don't know who's going to pay for this. But the grimmest statement was about two weeks ago. Look this lady up on the net. Her name is Louise Davy. And she wrote, I think, How Quantum. She's got a free book out on her website. She made a bone-chilling statement. There's two pundits in the world. One of them is Roger Grimes, who said there will be two types of companies in the world in 5 years. Companies that made the migration and did everything right, and companies that didn't and they failed. Yeah, Roger's a good man. Yeah. And then, but this woman's name, you need to write her name down. Her name is Louise Davy. And I think she's even got some videos out on the web. Amazing lady. She said, we now have to accept the fact that there are companies that are going to get left behind, and they will fail. In other words, those 61.7 billion devices, she said, there's going to be companies that didn't pay attention, and they're going to get left behind, and they're going to fail. And we have to look back and not worry about those companies. So think about Lot leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, and his wife turns to salt, right? You remember that one? But it's going to be a very grim situation, and I obviously with a gray beard, I went through Y2K. Y2K was a walk in the park, and in 1999 compared to this is doomsday. Is what this is.
No, it's great. You're spot on. It's great comments, and the one of the recent events that happened, right? Mythos. Everyone knows what Mythos is, right? That was the very eye-opening moment of like, wow, AI just exposed our vulnerabilities. We have vulnerabilities everywhere. This found things that we didn't know about for the last 15, 20 years. So we are trying, the reason why I think the timing is good for what we're talking about, we're trying to help companies not have that AI mythos moment, right? We're saying, hey, yeah, Q days may be 3 years out. We have a little bit of runway to go implement these changes. Now, what's also interesting, the number that I threw out, about $1 trillion, is really where we're focused. Is we think there's about $1 trillion of network infrastructure that's deployed across enterprises today, switches, routers, firewalls, et cetera, that is going to be vulnerable to this quantum threat. And what's also interesting is that number of 3 trillion that you threw out, right? Maybe it's hundreds of millions per enterprise to go through this migration. What's crazy is I just mentioned PQC is free. The algorithms are free. Where is the money going? And it's all in the network infrastructure upgrades for the most part. And if you're a company that's heavily cloud-based, you're actually going to rely on your cloud providers, your SaaS providers, your cloud providers to offer you that quantum safety, that PQC or QKD, whatever. But every cloud, every telco, every critical infrastructure, every financial institution, all of this infrastructure that's out there has to get upgraded, and that's where the money is going. So what we're trying to help customers with is say, yeah, you could go refresh your whole network and spend $100 million, but is that really where you want to spend that money? Probably not. There's ways to do it, leverage these technologies that you can implement things at a more cost-effective manner and refresh your network on your traditional refresh cycle, right? That's really our strategy, but it's a great point, and we're trying to prevent against that mythos moment of giving people, and there will be a lot of companies, like you said, that will wait, and they'll say, Q days, I'm not worried about it. I'm more consumed with other things. I have other priorities, and they might be in trouble. But hopefully a lot of people start making this transition now.
So we talked about defense. So what's the cost of attacking? And how accessible is the web? What's the cost of attacking your network, your encryption? Because we just cost of
Yeah, it's It's a great question. I mean, so it's really all about what type of data do you as an organization have, and what is the exposure of that data. If that data gets out into the wild, what's your brand reputation? What is the customer impact that you have? What's the revenue loss that you have? Patents or IP that I can't have exposed. Right now, a quantum computing system is going to be significantly more for a significantly lower cost. So if you're China, if you're Russia, if you're get that data. So companies are going to have to determine, how important is it for me, for my brand, my reputation, my customers, my revenue, to not allow this data to get there, and they're going to have to spend the money to protect against it.
Follow up. So if quantum computing is getting cheaper, so is your service getting cheaper too? Like your infrastructure, your hardware probably costs less to produce. Do you have a prediction?
Yeah, so I'll explain a little bit just from the IonQ perspective. Two things. One, we offer quantum computing via two avenues. One is buying a system, right? If a customer wants to buy a system, data center on site, and they can use a system that they own. But for customers that don't want to have that capacity in the cloud, so maybe they only have one little use case that they want to start testing the waters on with quantum, they can rent hourly units and start testing some of those algorithms and some of those workloads in quantum. So, but when I say that the cost of quantum is going to come down in the future, there's a few reasons why that might happen. One is if you think about our architecture, trapped ion, right now in our systems, we use lasers to control the ions and basically to create that computing power. In the future, we are not going to be using lasers, which are complex and expensive to deploy at scale. We're going to use chips. We're going to do electronic qubit control with chip, which is going to bring the cost of our computers down significantly. And most of the competitors out, just like storage and computing systems in the past. The cost of servers a long time ago were significantly different than they are today. The same thing is going to happen with quantum technologies as well. It's a great question. Yes.
Ask you a Chicago question. You're part of the IQMP that we're setting up in the south side. And there's in the south park, yeah. And then at M-Hub, we are ramping up quantum. There are already 4 or 5 companies moving in, and we are expanding the corridor there to speed up quantum computing and other activities. So are you going to be part of that too?
Great. I was actually at the University of Chicago this morning. They're a large customer of ours, and we did. They will be taking delivery of their quantum computer, so they bought a system that'll be on site at University of Chicago. But they're also going to be one of 2 universities in the world that will have a quantum computer, but they're also going to create a quantum network on their campus that connects multiple different buildings through a quantum network. So it's University of Chicago and University of Cambridge in London are the 2 universities that are doing that today. So we're definitely involved in Chicago through the University of Chicago, and they're also building a quantum center of excellence where they're going to start, just offering researchers and training students, et cetera. In addition to that, though, we talked about that other site. I just learned about that today, but my boss told me that we're in active discussions with them of how do we get involved in that as well. So yeah, we will have a presence. Yep, amazing. Amazing. Yeah, so what I'm seeing a lot now is there's a lot of these research education networks, Internet 2, there's Quantum Corridor around here, all these fiber optic networks, and they want to offer that up to researchers to come use it. This QKD technology that I talked about works really well with fiber, like I said. And we have a lot of companies that are looking to invest in that to secure their fiber network, but also allow researchers to come in and do quantum research on the quantum key distribution and things like that. Yeah.
Pete mentioned about the Genesis mission project, where national labs are kind of doing a lot of research and all that. Yeah. We are heavily involved with that. And AI kind of coming together with material sciences and all that. So.
I don't know that one in particular. I'm sure we are. I don't have the specifics on how we're involved, but we're in a lot of the national laboratories today, either with quantum networking, quantum security, or quantum computing. It's a big part of our strategy. Oak Ridge National Labs in Tennessee, state of Tennessee. We also have we deployed the world's first commercial quantum network at EPB in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so Electric Power Board. And they offer that up as a service to researchers and folks that want to do the research on their network. So they've figured out a way to commercialize it and generate revenue from having that quantum network. So yeah, I think the research labs is a big strategy. A lot of these research networks as well. But really, it's just trying to get more and more people using quantum, learning it, innovating on it, because that's where we think the next breakthroughs are going to come through to advance the industry as a whole. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the time, Alan. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, everyone. Nice meeting you. Thank you. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you so much, Joe. Amazing presentation. I'm sure we've all learned so much. Thank you for coming to the Quantum Valley. I always tell my co-founder he's in the Silicon Valley, and we're in the Quantum Valley here in Chicago. So much quantum momentum that we have here from both the security side, from computing side, from the intelligence perspective as well. So amazing presentation. I actually realized I didn't save questions from my side. So if anyone has any questions for me about Gopher MCP, please raise your hand. Let me know if you have any questions on the AI security side. Or if not, we can talk afterwards too. So I guess I'll just wrap things up here. So thank you so much for coming. Happy Chicago Tech Week to everyone. We also still have refreshments and some snacks outside. So we could do some networking. This is all about coming together, better together. We have a lot of brilliant people here in the room, and a lot of fantastic technology builders, engineers here. So this is what it's all about: bringing people together to make tomorrow better, more secure, more safe for everyone. So thank you so much.